So this is going to deal with the factoring portion that we did yesterday. It's just got one additional step. So very first, whenever you're going to solve these equations, you need to get everything over to one side of the equation, and your x squared term has to be positive. Okay, so we need to get everything over to one side of the equation, and x squared needs to be positive. So what am I going to do in order to accomplish that?
Subtract 27.
I'm going to move the 27 over to the left side. And now when I do that, I also need to write things in descending order, just like when we did when we factored. So I end up having x squared plus 6x minus 27. And that's going to equal 0. Okay? X squared plus 6x minus 27 equals 0. And so now what I'm going to do, if you remember from yesterday, I'm going to look at this last number. So I'm looking for two factors of 27 that do what?
Differ by 6.
Differ by 6. So what are those two factors of 27 that differ by 6? 3 and 9. And so now if you remember, what I do is I look at the 3 and the 9 and I see how can I get a positive 6 from those two numbers? 5. So I attach positive and negatives, remember? So what signs could I put here so that I get a positive 6?
-3.
A negative 3 and a positive 9. Because if you add those together, you get positive 6. So this will factor to be x minus 3 times x plus 9. Now, if you remember from yesterday, we would just stop at that step. Well, this step says that we have an equal to 0. And so now what I'm going to do is split this up by using the zero product property. What that means is that either x minus 3 equals 0 or x plus 9 equals 0. So I take each one of those quantities and I separate them. So I take this quantity, set it equal to 0. Then I take this quantity, set it equal to 0. And so now what I'm going to do is individually solve each of those equations. So if I solve x minus 3 equals 0, what do I have to do? Add 3 to both sides. So I end up getting x to equal 3. Okay. Now I do the same thing over here. What do you do to solve this next one? Minus 9. So I end up getting x to equal what? Negative 9. So those are your two solutions. X can either equal 3 or it can equal negative 9. Let's look at another one. Okay. Alrighty, so what's the very first thing I do? I subtract 70. I end up getting z squared minus 3z minus 70, and that's going to equal 0. Okay, what do I do now? Two factors of what? 70 that differ by 3. What are they? 7 and 10. So then now, how do you get a negative 3 by attaching positive and negative signs to 7 and 10?
7.
Yep, positive 7 and negative 10. Good. So two quantities. The first term in each quantity will be what? Z. So I end up having Z plus 7 and the other minus 10. So now I've got one more additional step I'm going to do. I'm going to set each of them equal to 0. So my first one will be Z plus 7 equals 0 or Z minus 10 equals 0. So what's my solution going to be here? Z equals negative 7. Yep, because when you subtract 7, you get negative 7. What do you get here? Z equals 10. Very good. So I get Z to equal 10. Questions? I want you to try this next one for me. X squared plus 3x minus 18 equals 0. X squared plus 3x minus 18 equals 0. X squared plus 3x minus 18 equals 0.
Did something wrong.
Oh, no,
Oh.
erase. Do you see that what you did?
Yep.
Is there, are there numbers always be something like that? Some people won't be like that. I don't want to show that because they're
I'm not too old.
That.
All right, so now when you factor this, you should get x plus 6 times x minus 3. So your two answers are -6 and positive, oops, let's just try rewriting that one again. There we go, and positive 3. Okay, so those are your two answers. So far, so good? You should be able to now finish your assignment. In fact, tomorrow what we might end up doing is we might actually end up maybe spending another day on this as well with the worksheet, because factoring is so important, it's so crucial, especially when we get to Algebra 2. Okay, so now what you need to do is finish those few problems. You should have a few from yesterday. And then, like I said, tomorrow we'll probably continue with the worksheet.